Good day, guys. Welcome back to the channel. So glad to be back with you guys. My name is Abby. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're returning, so glad to have you back. And today we're going to be discussing some of the challenges that I had in the growing year 2022, what I had to combat, and some of the lessons that I learned. Gardening is a rewarding hobby, and it requires skill, it requires knowledge, and it requires a bit of experience. But if you don't have any experience, that's okay. You can always tap into the experience of other gardeners who would have been doing it a little longer than you would. As a new gardener in the extension garden, that was one of the challenges that I had to face. I ended up having to tap into the experience and knowledge of one of my neighbors there who've been gardening there for over 10 plus years, asking her different things that I can look out for while gardening in the extension garden. But that brings us into some of the things that I learned in the growing year 2022 that I want to share with you. And one thing is to start small. Now, I'm accustomed growing here at home in small pots, little raised beds here and there, you know, small contained garden. And when we were able to acquire that extension garden, my excitement was through the roof. I couldn't contain it, so I wanted to grow everything. I wanted to do everything that was in my mind, because you know, if you're like myself and you're watching YouTube videos of these other gardeners growing beautiful gardens with flowers and vegetables, and they're bringing in their beautiful harvests, you want that for yourself. We want that for ourselves, and we can, but we just need to learn to start small. Start with one garden bed, and when you got a hang of that, then you could move on bed to bed to bed to bed. And that was one lesson that I learned in the garden year 2022. Rome certainly wasn't built in one day, and a garden, a beautiful one that is productive, will not begin in one season. Yes, son? Let's move on to lesson number 2, and that is be realistic. As a mother of 2 small children, it was indeed challenging to split up my attention between the children and the garden. Now, when you're planting your garden, you're planting baby plants that need attention. They need that love and that tenderness from you in order for them to thrive. But of course, our own children are definitely more important than any plant. And that was one lesson that I learned in the growing season. There's nothing you can do if a child wants your attention, your cuddles, to play with them. The garden just is going to have to wait. And that was one thing that I just had to say, you know what, relax. There's always the next growing season. Do what you can when you can and enjoy it. Don't stress about it. So there are different things that happens in each one of our lives that make us split up our attention, and sometimes the garden can get away from you. Don't beat up yourself about it. If God spares life, plan the next growing season with whatever attention you can give it. And the important thing is to enjoy the gardening and not to stress about anything. So I wanted to share that with you in case you have some other things going on in your life that taking up more attention than you like. Just go with the flow. There's always the next growing season. So let's move on to lesson number 3. Hi. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes you just have to stop and play. So lesson number 3 that I learned in the growing year 2022 is preserving is worth it. In the year 2021, we had a very good pumpkin harvest as well as a pimento harvest and eggplant harvest in the year 2021. In that year, I roasted the eggplants and I froze it. I froze the pimentos. I did try freezing the pumpkin in some of them, and I didn't like the off taste. It had an off taste, so I wouldn't recommend freezing pumpkin as it is. I do recommend cooking the pumpkin in like a pumpkin tal curry and then freezing it. You can add it to basically any dish and it was exponentially tasty. So it was good because in the year 2022 we had practically very little harvest, and I was not able to have any pumpkin. I was not able to have anything so that I would have pumpkin at this moment. So in the beginning of the year 2022, we did pick some pumpkin, but throughout the year, because of the extremely wet weather, it was really challenging. A lot of rotting and a lot of issues with the garden. So we didn't get any ginger harvest. We didn't get a lot of things. So because I froze and I did preserving in the year 2021, that was what I was able to use in the year 2022. So right now my reserves is basically at 0. I have no more okra. I have no more anything in the freezer from the year 2022, and it just sank deep with me the importance of really saving your glut. When you have a glut in the garden, it's really important to take time to put that in the garden. And I'm sharing that with you. You think that you may have a small garden, but every garden has a glut. So you may get sick and tired of eating okra, you may get sick and tired of eating eggplant. Just don't leave it there to rot. Put it in the freezer, cook it and put it in the freezer, and it lasts 6 to 8 months in great condition. Another thing that I learned in the growing year 2022 was more is not always more. It's not always best. So what I mean is, I have my chickens, as you guys know. There was an inflation, there is an inflation that's just taken us all by surprise, how prices are greatly increasing overnight, and the chicken feed has increased repeatedly without let up. And so trying to avoid the overcost, the overheads, the extra cost of the chicken feed, I decided to buy, instead of a 10-pound, which is a half a bag, I bought the entire feed bag of chicken feed, laying mash for my girls, along with an entire big bag of cracked corn, and it was way more than my storage bin can hold. So my storage bin holds comfortably about 10 pounds of feed with the corn mixed in with it. And buying this big bag of feed, I was only able to put half of that into the bin, and the other half I kept in a large garbage bag. Long story short is my feed, the second half of it molded on me. And you can't feed your chickens or your pets, for any matter. You can't feed anything molded food, it will get them sick. And I paid about $2.50 for that bag of chicken feed, and basically only got to use half of it. Whereas if I had paid the $1.75 for the half bag, you get the maths there. $175 for half the bag. I would have gotten to use the entire bag and save about $25. Do not slide down with your brother on the slide, please. So long story short, guys, is that buying more feed and putting it down does not make any sense. It has a lifespan of about 3 months. We're now in the 4th month, and all that feed that I have that basically could last me about 2 months is molded, and that's my money's gone there. So I've learned my lesson. Just continue buying what you're able to store comfortably, and more isn't always mean it's best. It doesn't mean that you're gonna save, especially when it comes to feed. So guys, those were a few things that I learned in the growing season. I hope you were able to tap into that. Hopefully we have a better growing season here in the tropics, and we can grow more, store, and continue to learn, continue to just grow in knowledge and experience. And those are the things that I'm doing now, and I hope that you are invigorated to do it for yourself. Until the next time, guys, I say a hearty hello to you and to your family. Take care and have a wonderful week. Bye bye.